So to get things started, I airbrushed my whole entire plate with white acrylic paint. I did use probably about a pinpoint of yellow just to give it more of an antique color. I did do the saucer and the teacup at the same time and then let it dry. I think I ended up doing about 2 coats of this. If you're using a sponge and you're applying it with a sponge, which would probably be the best way to do it if you didn't have an airbrush machine, you'll probably have to do more than 2 coats, but you can play it by ear and see how much it covers up that actual decal that comes on the teacup. So this was probably the hardest part about the whole project, is getting this darn chip into the cup. So I scored it a little bit with a razor blade. Now, if you're young, please, 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 please ask for help. And if you're old, please, 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 please ask for help as well, because this was a disaster. I mean, it worked out so well. I just hit it a couple times and then perfect chip. Just kidding. I hit it a couple times and it cracked the whole thing. I mean, this was the biggest headache ever. I ended up having to hit it like a couple of more times, obviously, to try to crack off that other corner to get a chip, but then you can't really control where it chips. I ended up cracking this thing like 10 times to try to get it to the right kind of chip, and it still wasn't right in the end. But I gave up because I was so frustrated with it. But luckily that we have glue and we can glue it back together and paint to paint over the cracks. So in the end, you couldn't really tell unless you look close. Then it's just like one big puzzle and you get to put it back together and all of it falls apart and it's just so fun. I just smiled the whole time and said wonderful things about the cup. Just kidding, it was terrible. But the glue that I'm using is called Craft Medley Premium Craft Glue. This glue was bought at a dollar store, but it is hard to find and it is an amazing glue. We found it last year for some projects that we were doing, and ever since then I bought like 30 containers of it because it's amazing. So if you can find that kind of, it's like a wet glue that's almost like a hot glue but cold. So if you can find something like that, that'll work. If not, then I'm sure regular craft glue will work as well. You just might have to be more patient. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. So next up is painting on these beveled ridges. So the actual teacup that she has and the saucer has this like beveling on the outside. It's so beautiful, but I mean, how are you gonna ever find that? Unless you're gonna go online and pay like $200 for a cup, which I'm not. So I paid $2 for this cup and I made my own beveling. I mean, what didn't look really that great. I probably could not have done this step, and you don't really have to do this step either, but if you want to see how I did it, then this is what I did. I basically just colored, or what's it called? Paint. I painted half horseshoes and then used some water and a little rag to kind of dab it out to kind of blend it in a little bit more. And that's basically how that worked. Painting on the design was the easiest part of this whole entire project. You could skip all these steps and just paint the cup white and paint this design on and you'll be in heaven because it was so easy. Well, really after this. This design I just looked up online and just followed the pattern that I saw from Belle's cup. I did find one pattern that had a couple different leaf options, so I mean, do whatever one you want. I'm sure that it doesn't really matter. There's Daenerys. She always gets in the way when I do close-ups. But anyway, so do your best. You can follow the pattern online or you can follow my pattern, whatever works for you. Painting portion's a little bit long and kind of boring, but I did include it so you can skip ahead if it's just too much for you and you don't really need to watch the whole thing. This rim was the same color paint that I used for the little branch thing that's on it, and then I kind of just painted it all on the bottom lip of the cup and then just kind of scuffed it up with my rag. It was very simple. I'm sure you could use toilet paper or paper towel or something like that to scuff it up as well. There's no rhyme or reason as long as it looks scuffed. Once you're all done scuffing her up, all I did next was a little bit of white paint to touch up the spots that I was not really happy with. I just kind of cleaned up the branch a little bit and some of the beveling, and that's it.
So this project was so highly requested, I really just couldn't figure out why. And then when I started doing it, I understood. Because it is harder than it looks. At first I'm like, it's a teacup that you chip. Come on guys, you can do this. But really, it was hard. Unless you have like background skills in carving tile or something like that, I don't know how the heck you're supposed to chip this cup without making it explode. So with that being said, really the only things you need for this project are a teacup and a tea saucer. For the chipping itself, as you can see in the video, I did have a little bit of a hard time. I researched it, I asked my brother for tips, he's really good at this kind of stuff, but I went to go do it and it like one hit and it was like, ugh. So with that being said, good luck to you, and if you can do it without making your cup explode, I want to hear about it because that's just impressive. You deserve a medal for that. Other than that, the cup itself is bought at the thrift store. I think I paid $2 for it. It is painted with a white Createx acrylic airbrush paint, and the blue is a blue Createx airbrush paint. Now, you don't have to use airbrush paint because if you don't have an airbrush, just go for the straight acrylic. You can use a Martha Stewart brown white paint, and then this is like a royal blue color, and then you can kind of mix it a little bit if you feel like it's too dark or too light or whatever the case is. But with that being said, you can paint it with a sponge instead of the the airbrush. If you do it with a sponge, you're going to have to do more layers, but there's a rattling on there. If you do it with a sponge, you'll have to do more layers, but that's okay because, I mean, it's all in the time and it's fun to do it. So with another thing with this is that I couldn't find that beveled shape of, of Belle's cup, so I bought the closest thing I could find to it, which it's not quite the same shape, and I know it's not, but it was $2 and I wasn't going to look all around for it. So with the plate, I did almost like a little bit of beveling on it, trying to give it more of that kind of shape, and the same with the bottom of the cup. And then once you paint the blue on too, don't forget to chip it off a little bit to make it look a little bit more chipped. But there it is. There's your Rapunzel. Why do I keep saying Rapunzel? Your Belle. Maybe because I'm thinking Rumpelstiltskin. I don't know. But there's your Belle cup. It's pretty neat. I mean, this is a first draft for me. I've never done anything like this before, so I feel like the hardest part of it was trying to chip the cup in general, and then once I did that and destroyed it, I was kind of like, oh, I give up. So with that being said, if I were to do another one, I think I'd try it a little bit differently, but for a first timer, this will work for anything. If you're going out as Belle, you'll have this as a costume piece, and it's cool. I mean, most people don't know the show off by heart enough to know the shape of the cup, so if that's the case, then you are set. If you enjoyed this, check out some of my other Once Upon a Time videos. My crafts that I've done and tutorials that I've done, they're pretty neat as well. If you have any questions or if you have any requests, feel free to ask. If I get time to do it and it's within what I'm doing that month, I can definitely give it a try. And I'll try to answer back to anything that I can. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's GGAETZZ, just like my YouTube account. And sometimes there's some pretty sweet stuff on there as well. So give it a go. Anyway, this is what it is, and good luck, and if you end up finishing it and you get it, let me know. I want to hear about it. So shoot me a line via Instagram or on YouTube or whatever the case is. But as of now, I'll talk to you later. Bye!